Well, hello there all you magnificent people, and welcome back to another episode of An Ecologist Plays, where we talk about nature while playing games. My name is Will, I'm an ecologist by training, and we are back in Enshrouded. We are back in the world of Embervale, and we are in our cave base. Now, a few things have changed here. I've done a few things off screen. First of all, I have walled off this section because I'm not sure whether any scavengers will actually respawn here. I did also move our flame altar a bit, but the chest is still out of that flame radius. Also have obviously placed down a bed, but that's just my bed. I also have, by hand, excavated two sections here. Now yes, one can easily excavate chambers by just, using your building hammer and placing it down and removing it, and that gives you a nice squared out area. However, I didn't want to do that. I literally went by hand and excavated chambers. Two chambers, one here for the alchemist, and you can see it is hand excavated because while the ceiling is quite low, it's very rugged. We also have the blacksmith right over here in his little chamber, also dug out by hand, and he has a nice little window over here. Now what I also added to the cave here is just to ensure that we technically have ventilation. We've got a nice little ventilation hole over here, and we also have a ventilation hole right over here which leads up here. We also have a ventilation hole right over here, and another one right next to it, which acts as a chimney for the cooking station over here. And there is one last thing that I did, but I'm going to leave that as a surprise for next time. Now, one of the things that was added in the game was fishing, and that is what we are going to do now. You can craft a simple fishing rod. We just need twigs, metal scraps, and string, which we have. There we go, we now have a fishing rod. But you can't just go fishing, you need bait as well, so that's where the fireflies come in. I have caught a few at night. Now let's go fishing because, well, there's actually a very nice fishing spot right over here to this side. One just goes down past the road here. There's a lovely little lake that was added here. So yes, the water is not just in the new area in Vale Water Basin, it is also in some of these older areas, so we can very easily actually come over here as well. And we'll talk about some of the things like the reeds over here in a moment, but first let's actually do some fishing. This jetty over here is kind of looking out over some flint. I don't want that. I want to actually cast my line into proper water. So what I'm going to do is, there's actually a school of fish right over there, which may give us a few better fishies. So we're just going to, cast our line and voila, right there in that school of fish. And now we're going to wait for something to pop up. We've got a little fishy there. It looks like a lake hopper. And once it actually bites, like that, we're just going to click the left button, and then we're just going to press A when the fish is going to the right, and D when the fish is going to the left. And you can actually kind of preemptively start pressing, so before it actually... there we go, that was a lake hopper indeed. We'll probably catch another one, I'll chat about it in a moment. So before, as the fish reaches the end of going to the left there, you can actually prepare for it going to the right, and you can press your A button as well. So I call this leading the fish. And it is a strategy I have used to catch some of the more challenging fishies. The bluefin tuna, for example, with a fishing rod that technically shouldn't have been able to handle that. Because you do run out of stamina normally, you can actually use the leading the fish method to try and catch them a little bit sooner. So I actually start, before it actually starts swerving or pulling at the line, I already start pressing a button. I've got a 50-50 chance to be right. There we go, we've got a shimmer fin as well. So what I mean by that is that as I hook the fish, before it even starts swimming to one of the two sides, to the left or the right, I start pressing either the A key or the D key. Because, it doesn't use stamina to do that. So then, if it is swimming to the left and I was pressing the D button, I already have made a bit of a dent in the fish's stamina, without it costing any of my stamina. So there I already had pressed D before it actually started swimming, and I'm just going to, before it starts swimming to the left, I'm going to press the D button, and before it starts swimming to the right, I press the A button, and we caught another shimmer fin. The shimmer fin reminds me very much of a loach, maybe a perch, but I think more a loach. The bands, they're most likely to try and break up the fish's outline, so that it is more difficult for the predators to spot. It even has a stripe going through its eyes, which is very nice, because a lot of fish will have that to try and mask where their eyes actually are, so the predators find it more difficult to actually bite them directly on the head, which is generally an insta-kill. And there we go, that is a lake hopper. Now, lake hoppers here are modeled after carp, I believe, which are bottom-feeding fish. You'd use some kind of bait that they would bite onto when they are grubbing around in the mud, in the sediments. In South Africa, at least, we like to use mealie pap, which is corn-based porridge. We make it a very, not a porridge, not like a sloppy porridge. This is actually, we make it a proper stuffed porridge, and you can use that to actually try and catch carp. It's very, very nice. It works very well for for fishing for carp. Now, as relaxing as the fishing is, we have got things to do. So we are going to, first of all, just collect some reeds over here, because these are, well, you're called paper reeds. I know them. Oh, this is actually bulrush. Okay, never mind. This is not paper reed. This is actually bulrush. You're going to see that it looks like a little corn dog on a very long green stick. Apparently, you can make a flower out of it, as far as I recall, which is very interesting. You'll notice the top of it actually looks a different color. Well, that's because those seeds are already ripe. They start ripening from the top and start blowing away in the wind from the top of this corn dog on a stick. I do note, biting into that corn doggy thing there is going to be really, really bad. A bad idea. It's just fluff, and yeah. It's almost as if it's under tension, and you're just going to get a whole mouthful of that fluff over there. Now, the rhizomes of this plant is also edible, apparently. I haven't had it yet, so I can't say with certainty, but apparently you can eat bulrush rhizomes, the underground horizontally growing stems. We also have here is Phragmites. Now, this could be Phragmites australis, the southern common reed. Overall, it is a Phragmites. It is one of the common reeds that one can find. I'm not sure whether we can harvest them. We should be able to. Yeah, we can. We can harvest them as well. Apparently, the Phragmites you can also use as a straw. Not in-game, but in real life. You can use some of the smaller stems as an eco-friendly straw. Because, well, those stems that you see there, you see those lines right there and there? Those are what we call the nodes. And the nodes are areas where there's a bit of a thickening in the stem, and it's generally kind of sealed off there. But you can mash that away with a sharp object or a hard object. But in between, it's hollow. So if you cut this reed over there and over there, you technically have a hollow tube, which you can use as a straw. Again, haven't tried that yet, but it's definitely on the list of things I do want to do. Now, before we leave this lovely location here, there is a little bit of a shelter over here, where one can also, of course, cook your fish if you wanted to, and you can sleep. It's a lovely little camping out spot. And additionally, there's a red glow in the rubble over here. So let's have a look here. What have we got? Oh, this is an ammonite. So an extinct cephalopod, basically like a little squid-like, octopus-like creature with tentacles. But they lived in the ocean. They were generally, I believe, saltwater or marine. They weren't freshwater cephalopods. Instead, they occurred in marine ecosystems. But they went extinct a long, long time ago. At least on Earth, they went extinct around the time of the non-avian dinosaurs. Now, later on, we will be able to put them up on display. For now, we're just going to store them here with the rest of the rocks. And then we're just going to, cook our little fishies here. And then we have some nice food for later. Now, carp is generally not the greatest of fish. We tend to use it mainly for fish cakes, because the fish is generally a little bit muddy. So that may just be the way that, my parents prepared it. It may actually be prepared a little bit better in a different way. I'm not really sure exactly how to go and prepare them, so we just grill them, that's fine. Now, Balthazar here has a quest for us to get an eternal spell, which doesn't use spell charges to fire, just uses mana, and we can also go and collect the carpenter, and oh, this will be lovely. If we can get the carpenter, that will be absolutely amazing. Then we can really start decorating our home here. And then Oswald just wants to mention that the Wailing Blade is something that he crafted for his daughter. It's actually a sword he crafted for his daughter. And if we wanted to, later on, we can craft more powerful versions of the Wailing Blade as well. And that is the blade we collected here at the back of, behind the wall over there, in that golden chest. We collected that. Now, what we're going to do now is we're going to go and collect the hunter. And then maybe, if we can, we'll try and get the carpenter as well. That may be a bit more challenging though, so I think we're first going to grab the hunter, and maybe next time we'll go and collect the carpenter. It seems like there is rain setting in, at least from the north over here, so interesting the rain comes along the northern side here. Let's see whether we can get to the hunter before, the rain actually catches us. Oh, that is gorgeous. That's such a beautiful view. I mean, look at that. Oh, this game is gorgeous. Oh, we almost ran out of stamina here. But oh, looky. There appears to be a shroud root over there. We may as well go and take that out. Now, once we have the stamina again, I don't think we'll be able to make it from over here. So we're going to have to glide back from the tower when we have collected the hunter. We're going to have to try and do that. Of course, flame sparks, always great to grab. I have seen some movement up ahead, different humanoids up there. Oh, the sun is shining again. And I believe these are the Vookah. The Vookah being big teddy bear-like, well, beastmen basically. But I am going to try and be as peaceful towards them as I possibly can. So I'm not going to attack them now. I suspect there are some up ahead as well, which will make things slightly challenging. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to just run through. I'm going to try and not provoke them, at least. But of course we will at some point actually have the skill that allows us to run amongst the Vookah in peace. And I think that's actually what I'm going to go for first. Believe it or not, I want to get Calm Spirit so the animals don't attack us, and I want to get Vookah language so the Vookah don't attack us. And to get there, yes, I can go here, but I can grab Inner Fires here as a skill, because that gives us 2 more minutes in Shroud, which, you know, that will be useful. We will be spending a lot of time in Shroud, so let's have our Inner Fires. Now, there are going to be Vookah attacking me here. I'm just going to run straight past them and try and not attack any of them and try not to be killed by any of them. Now, if they want to follow me and get killed by that, that is their own choice. Well, here they are. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to swing over to this side, press a button and ignore them. Oh, the one just died. Are you going to make it? Oh, that was close. Ooh, that was close. The other one didn't make it, so you can see a bunch of corpses already piling up there. Look, they brought that upon themselves. And here he comes again. He does not seem to want to leave us alone. Oh, dearie me. Well, he has died due to his injuries. Well, you know what? He really brought that upon himself. But, you know, no point letting them go to waste. So may as well, you know, just loot their corpses. It's my way of paying respect to the dead. Alright, no Vookah here where the hunter is, thankfully. So we're just going to awaken her, and we'll have Athelin's Scree back at our base in a bit. But before we go, we're just going to head on up, because, well, there's something, I guess, up here. Explore every nook and cranny if you can. Ah, there we go, silver chest. The bow isn't as good as mine, so I'll just salvage it. But now, let's go do that shroud route, shall we? And if my calculations are correct, it should be right below us. So yeah, we should be able to just fly in from this side. There we go, okay. Yeah, there we go. I'm just gonna, you know, swing like crazy. Hope I hit something. There we go, I did hit some things. And while we're waiting for everybody to respawn, there we go, let's just, you know, do that. And now all these little critters, all these shroud critters, I like calling them shroud beetles. They're crawling from the woodwork, well, not really the woodwork, they are crawling from their homes. You can see here the beetle, or these little bugs. Actually, I'm not sure, they may be bugs, because they do seem to have almost a softer exoskeleton rather than the hard exoskeleton you would expect from beetles, from actual true beetles. But you can see here the hive-like structure. But you know what, this design really reminds me of either a moral or some stinkhorn fungi, which also have this shape when they emerge from the soil. So I guess it is playing into that theme, but this very well could be the hideout of some kind of beetle or bug. But there we go. We're just going to get rid of that, and we of course are going to collect all these critter parts that are lying all over the show, and loot the remains of the shroud people as well. And these critter parts you can also use for fishing, as far as I recall. Or at least you can make a simple bait with it, if I'm not mistaken. No, I thought one could, but doesn't seem like I can yet. But yeah, now of course we do need a place for the hunter to actually chill. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to excavate a small chamber for her to this side. And this is literally how I do it. I mine my own business. And in the process, I collect a lot of stone. But you know what? This is going to take forever. So I'm going to do this off screen. And we are just going to temporarily put Athelin over here. I'm going to just, give her my bed for now, just so she doesn't feel like she's not welcome in this cave system of ours. And she is telling us where to find the farmer. And she's telling us where we can find salt as well. Wonderful. And then lastly, we can make more special arrows with her, as well as a drying rack, which we definitely will need to do. Now we can also make some better armor here, which we are definitely going to consider. But if we can get the farmer, well, then we can really start becoming more self-sufficient. We can start growing our own crops and do all things like that. You know what? Let's actually go... I think let's wait for the rain to pass. I guess I'll do some mining in the meantime. I'll see you guys in a moment. Well, it sounds like the rain stopped. Indeed it has. So let's head on over to where the salt can be found, because that is also very close to where we currently are. Now if you are running through the game, and especially at the start, and you are looking for resin, well, these little red leaf trees here, they actually are a great source of resin. So you can chop them, then you get some resin. So any of the red leaf trees would be your best bet for resin. And I guess the reason for that is, well, those are deciduous trees, so they are actively moving, I guess, in this particular season. They're actively moving sap through their phloem, and that is what we are technically collecting there, that resin. So why do plants produce resin, though? I think if we head to the right, we should get to where the salt mine is, or maybe not. Oh, hop hares, a whole colony, a whole warren of them. But there we go, there is the salt mine right down there. Okay, so why is resin very important to the trees? Ooh, corn. I get distracted so easily. Well, resin is incredibly important because it helps seal wounds. So whenever there's a wound, like a branch breaking off, or someone chopping into it, or an animal rubbing up against the tree, well, that is a potential route for infection to spread through the tree. So the tree will seal up that wound by producing this sticky resin, which is antimicrobial in nature, and it just tries to at least protect the wound and kind of keep it clean, protect it against infection. I think we're going to drink a Shroud survival flask here as well, because we are going to be heading into the Shroud now, and we're going to collect some salt. Now, why would there be salt here, of all places? Well, the most likely explanation is... there we go, there's some salt, yeah. Is that there was some kind of river flowing past here, or perhaps at some point the ocean came in here, which is a source of, salt water. And as the water then evaporated, well, the salt got left behind in these salt mines here, in these salt deposits. I think the most likely explanation is, in fact, that there's a river that flowed past here. You can kind of see that. It looks like a river valley. And the area where the river originated is generally a low rainfall area. Oh, as we again level up through mining. A low rainfall area, so the river doesn't constantly flow towards the ocean. Sometimes it becomes a little bit more stagnant. And very importantly, the river flows through a certain type of sedimentary rock. Generally shale, because shale is marine deposits, so it was deposited in a marine environment. In other words, there's lots of salt in there as well. Generally, quite a bit of salt in there. So, what most likely happened is that saltish, not salt water, but brackish water flowed along the river here. The river would seasonally flow, and then when the flow isn't very strong, water would stand, and then when the water stands still, the water would evaporate, leaving the salt behind. It's what we call an evaporite. I think that is why we've got so much salt deposited here in the Egerton Salt Mine area. We're just going to go down right over here. I'm just going to mark this as the salt mine entrance so that I don't get lost down here, because that very well could happen with me. Of course, we are going to encounter a whole bunch of little buzzies. Little critters. And I think Shroud people as well. Now there we go, there is in fact one over there. And another bigger one over here. And it seems like Bertram in the notes there wanted to go deeper into the mine, so I guess he went down there. We are not necessarily here for that, we are here to mine salt, so let's mine some more salt here. Oh, apparently I'm hungry, so I do need to eat something. You know what we're going to eat? We're going to eat wolf meat, going to drink some water, and that should be alright, I think, for now. I want to keep one food slot open just in case we need to eat berries to survive, to heal a bit. I like coming in here and collecting a whole bunch of salt that we can stay out of this area for quite a while. But you know what? Let's head down there and see what we can find in the Shroud area over here, in this little mine area. And they call it a mine. Oh, well, the torch isn't really helping, but I hear a critter nest. Oh, I see it's a critter nest, and I hear A lot of critters. I see a lot of critters. You well now. Ooh, and a fossil. Another one. Another ammonite imprint in this case. And teeny tiny critters. It does seem like these critters actually go through metamorphosis with the small ones and then eventually bigger ones all around as well. No wonder they are defensive about these big nests here. That's where the young ones live. Okay, looks like that is it, apart from some salt that we can still mine. Well, we do now have more than 400 salt here, so I think we are fine. Let's just fight these last shroud people. Loot their remains. Grab this chest over here. And of course, mark it as well. And then we've got this note here by Balthazar talking about how he believes the shroud to be spores. So, very, very interesting. It seems as though he believes that all of this can spread more fungus. Alright, anyway, we are running out of time. So let's head on over to where the exit is. Because, well, I have died in the shroud here way too many times. And there we go. Fresh air. Huzzah! Now I was going to save this for next time, but you know what? Now is as good a time as any. I have created up here at the top of the flame, at the upper limit of where we can build anything, I have created a nice little seating area. And while we are here, thank you everyone for supporting the channel, for watching the videos. It just means the world to me. Now, unfortunately, due to changes in YouTube, it's become very difficult to actually generate any income whatsoever from the channel. In fact, we haven't had an income since beginning of the year from the channel. And it takes a lot of time and effort to actually create these videos. So to help support the channel and us, I am creating YouTube membership for the channel. There will of course be some perks there. There'll be badges, special badges that I have created myself, designed myself. There will be custom emojis I'll be creating as well. And of course there will also be some extra videos coming out for members of the channel. But don't worry, I don't want to exclude anybody. So even if you are unable to actually become a member, you will still get access to those videos. The videos will just be a bit later. So the normal videos, my normal Tuesday and Friday videos, you'll still be able to watch. Members will be able to watch them on Mondays and Thursdays, so a day earlier. And then there will also be some special videos, hopefully at least once a month, of expeditions we have and things like that. Whenever we go hiking, I'll record whatever interesting things we observe. And those will become available to members a month ahead of everyone else. But they will still become public after about a month. Now I'm going to make it as cheap as possible. And I will release the channel membership around the 1st of December. And then I will let you guys know a bit more about that then. But you know, even if you can't become a member, just give the video a like, share with your friends, help the channel to grow. So thank you very much everyone for joining me on a little adventure. Your support means the world to us. Of course, I'll be back on Tuesday with another Nightingale video and then another Enshrouded video next Friday. So until then everybody, stay safe. I'll see you all soon. Cheers!